Hi, welcome to the channel. I wanted to speak about one of the most expensive and important bits of equipment for your backpacking and hiking treks today, and that is your rucksack. Now, rucksacks are fairly simple and they all contain four main things, which we're going to go through in a second. I'm going to use this one as a demonstration. This is a Deuter Futura 37-litre rucksack, and it's a pretty good one. It's manufactured very well, has some really good quality to it. I don't care about what the manufacturers are, I don't care about brand names, I care that it fits you and is comfortable for you. Obviously, the more well-branded ones usually come with a guarantee of quality. There are some exceptions out there, but that is not as important as it fitting you, doing the job that you want it to do, and it being comfortable. Rucksacks come in different sizes. This is the first one we've got to go through. This is a 37, like I said. This is actually a 45 plus 10, and the other one over here is a 40 litre. These are all done in litres. It's a volume that you can carry within that rucksack. They go up to something like 115 or somewhere around there. It's a big, big one. So a 20, the lower the number, the less volume you can carry. The higher the number, obviously, the more you can carry in that rucksack, or the more it's designed to carry. When we're starting out, we've got the four things to remember. So the first one is the bucket and the bucket size. That is the bucket on the back of this rucksack here. That's how much you're going to carry. That's number one. Number two is your hip belt. Now, this is your waist belt that goes around your body and covers here. This should be located on your pelvic bone, and that is because most of the weight of the rucksack should be carried through your hips and through this hip belt. We're talking 70% of the weight here goes straight through your hips. Make sure you get a comfortable one. As you can see, the padding here is super good. Make sure it's got padding on it. Make sure it fits you and sits comfortably. When you go to a specialist store to pick a rucksack, make sure you put some weight in that rucksack, walk around a bit, bounce up and down, make sure that waist belt stays there and is comfortable on you. Next one, shoulder straps. All the rucksacks should have shoulder straps. These carry the extra 25-30% of weight. They should have what is called load lifters here. This actually just pulls the bag tight to your shoulders. So make sure it's got load lifters with these shoulder straps. And the last one is the chest strap. Now, chest straps, keep these from swaying around and moving whilst you're walking. In the army, we always had the problem that you'd sweat a lot because you're carrying a lot of weight. And once you started sweating, these straps would get wet, and eventually, because they were bouncing around, they'd rub into your shoulders and you'd get what is known as webbing burn. It's like a bruise and a blister and rubbing your skin raw underneath where the straps are. It's not good. So make sure you get every single rucksack with a chest strap to stop these from wobbling around. And that's our four main things. Everything else on the rucksacks are extras that the manufacturers put on there because you might use them for your specific cases. Now, you've got to know what you want to do, and then there's some pointers that I can give you in a minute of what extras you should look for in a rucksack. So let's go through it. Like I say, remember the big four whenever you go. So hip, shoulders, chest strap, and the bucket size. On this one, let's use this as a demonstration. This is a semi-rigid pack, which means it's got a frame in it. The nice thing about this one, if you can see, it's got an air gap behind here. That keeps your back a little bit cooler, lets the air to the back, stops the sweating and things. It's quite nice. That's just an extra to have, and it's an expensive pack. Usually they have mesh-lined pockets or springy pockets here. Water bottles is what I use these for on this style of rucksacks. And also, they usually come with a front pouch now, which is also stretchy. I'll go through that in a minute, but what I'd use that for, most people say put your waterproofs and things in the top. I don't actually do that. What I do, so the rucksacks usually come with this pouch at the bottom. This is for your sleeping bag. I'll explain why we load out different things in different areas in a minute. That is for your sleeping bag. And what I have in there is my sleeping bag, my waterproofs, and my first aid kit. It's nice and easy to access. It's easy to get to. The waterproofs keep my sleeping bag, which is my most important bit of equipment, dry, as well as it's contained in a waterproof bag as well. On this front pouch, and this is what I was getting to, this is where I'd store wet kit that I want to dry over the day, or I want to keep away from my sleeping bag and from my other dry kit within the bag. This front pouch I'd use for the outer of my tent and for the footprint of my tent, keeping it away from the rest. It's also a nice dirty area where I know I can just throw things and it doesn't matter so much. Then in the top, most people say put your waterproofs first aid kit in the top. I don't, and there is a good reason for this. I put very, very heavy equipment in the top here. Now, I'm an engineer, and being an engineer, I know a lot about static loading. The further away something is from that point of contact is called a moment. The further away it is, that adds to the moment and more force going through your body, in this case on the rucksack. So if your weight is further away from where your back should be, you're going to have more moment on it and therefore more force every time you walk. That's not a good thing. So what we try and do is we put as much weight as close to our back as possible. And I also use this top pouch for my camera batteries and for my heavy equipment. In this way, what we've got is the weight close to our back running through into these hip and waist belts. The reason why a sleeping bag is down here is because it's lightweight and it's actually lower than this load case through our hip belt. If you imagine this being full here of a heavy weight, you're going to get that pushing into your back or pulling your back in a certain direction, and it's going to hurt after a while. So lightest, bulkiest at the bottom, and if you're using camera equipment or if you've got heavy equipment, use it at the top so that when you go uphill, you can bring that closer over your shoulders, and when you're going downhill, it reacts through your structural members of your back, so your skeleton in your back. The reason why you're taking 70% of the weight through these hip belts is because you want all of that weight to go into your pelvis and use your muscles of your quads in your legs. Your muscles in your quads are very large compared to the muscles in your arms, and it's better that you get that whole weight into the skeleton of your body, and then the walking movement is reacted through your big quadricep muscles. Then, if we have the shoulder straps all tightened, so tighten the waist belt first, making sure you're going to take 70% of the weight. Then we do up our shoulder straps, nice and tight, but not too tight. We do up our chest strap, and then we have load lifters on the shoulder straps. These are so that when this is on your shoulders, you can pull that weight in tight to your body, and you're keeping this against your back, keeping that load nice and close, reducing that moment, reducing the force that you're having to carry and push down each time you take a step. If you don't get all that, that's okay. Remember the four things: waist belt, shoulder straps, chest strap, and your bucket size. So that was a small one. This is a 37 litre. I would use it for day hiking where I need an important amount of equipment, waterproofs, some food for the day, lots of water bottles, first aid kit. I would not use this for an overnight. It is not big enough. What I would use for an overnight is my go-to rucksack, and this happens to be a Deuter. It just fits me well, so I actually bought the same make on this one. This is a Deuter 45 plus 10. The 10 is this extra pouch at the top, which I can actually remove and have across my chest. This is good for my camera equipment, good for my sort of stuff that I do. Has exactly the same as the other one. It has a really good waist belt system, so I can carry the load through this. It's comfortable and it's soft. It has the good shoulder straps, and it has a chest strap across the front here. Also has a bigger bucket because I'm carrying more equipment. Has the same sort of pouches, so I use these for water bottles. I also put my tent poles on the outside and my tent pegs. That is not to damage stuff that's on the inside. Also has the load lifters here. These are actually undone at the moment because I'm modifying them, but it does have the load lifters. And it also has the pouch on the front here. Where is it? Here, so that I can put my tent and my extra stuff on the outside. Sleeping bag area on the bottom again, and also all of these have a certain amount of extras, so they're trying to sell you stuff. As you can see on this one, it's got trekking pole attachments here. Slide your trekking poles in and you clip them to this bungee cord at the top here and do it up. There's also an ice axe loop here. If I'm ever carrying an ice axe, I'm never carrying an ice axe, I don't even own one. But there's an ice axe loop if you need it, and the bungee cord at the top for the handle of the ice axe. This is another rigid framed one, so you can't bend the rucksack. It's a rigid frame and it keeps it all in position, which is quite nice. That's my go-to one. What I recommend when you're buying a rucksack on the first time, around about a 50 litre, like I said, this is a 45 plus 10, a 50 litre rucksack will do you whilst you're getting into backpacking and hiking, and whilst you know what equipment or learn what equipment you need to carry with you. I guarantee 50 litres will be perfect. They also can be scrunched down quite heavily with these compression straps, so you can actually get a smaller rucksack out of a 50 and use the extra room when you need it. So that's another rigid pack. My other rucksack I use is a non-rigid pack. This is a Dakine 40 litre poacher. It's an old version, I've had it for a very long time. I'm going to just show you this because this is not a rigid frame. What it means, and if you do not have a rigid frame, you have to be more careful in what you pack and how you pack it. The reason why I have this one is I do a lot of photography, I'm carrying a lot of camera equipment, and this is designed so that I can get to the camera equipment rather quickly and easily. It has a back pouch that I can reach in, get spare SD cards or batteries as required. I do not, however, use this as much for camping unless I'm doing a photo shoot or a camera shoot. But it has the same. So it has, number one, our hip belt, good solid hip belt. It has number two, the shoulder straps. It has a chest strap, and it has the bucket that I need with those specific extras I need in this case. Okay, that's pretty much it. Just some tips on it and just going through stuff. Have a look for those 4 things. Go and try on your rucksack, make sure it fits you, make sure it's comfortable, and make sure you can carry enough equipment in it for what you need. Make sure it's got the extras that you like seeing, and that is pretty much how you size a rucksack, how you get the best rucksack for you. Make sure it's comfortable for you. Nothing else to it. So, I hope you liked that. It was just an introduction into rucksacks and how much weight you should take through your body in which areas, and what the 4 most important things are when buying a rucksack. Give me a thumbs up if you like what we're trying to do, and subscribe to the channel so that we can carry on giving you more tips and tricks and you can become a pro backpacker. See you soon.